If you live in Maine, you know that this is not okay right now.
Ready? This is for the screen grab. He's such a boo girl.
Oh god, she doesn't want to be in the video.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel.
She's eating my boots.
Hey! This video is going to be Evie's adoption story, and if you guys don't know, Evie is my cat that Brandon and I adopted last year, and I thought that I would tell the story of how we got her today because it is the anniversary of when we got her. Now she's eating chips. I'm just gonna let her do it. Brandon and I had been talking extensively about getting a cat for such a long time, and we knew that when we moved into our first house that we would eventually be getting a pet, but the house was just too small for a dog. We want a German Shepherd, and so that wasn't gonna work out in a 900 square foot ranch. So we decided we were going to get a cat. And before we moved in, it was kind of discussed that we wouldn't be getting the cat until the spring. After we moved in November, and we were thinking like March or April or something like that, and just giving it a little bit of time for us to kind of get settled. That was the original plan. As a lot of people know, things don't normally go according to plan, especially with animals, and you honestly just can't choose when you're going to fall in love with an animal, and so that's where the story kind of begins. We moved into our house in the middle of November of last year. As you know, we're not there anymore. We are moved back in with Brandon's parents, but at the time we had moved in, and it was now the middle of December. So we had been there about a month, and for some reason one night we were talking about pets. We were laying in bed and I decided to go and look online at the shelters in the area just for fun. Brandon is like asleep at this point, and it's just me in the dark scrolling through animals. The first shelter I looked at, which is the closer one to us, didn't really have anything. And so I decided to look at the next closest, which is like an hour away. I'm scrolling through these cats. They have so many cats, and all of a sudden I stop on this one cat who was named Evie. Something about her, my eyes just went to this cat, and she had all her info right there with her picture, and it said she was 1 year and 10 days old, was a female, and you know, everything about her had been spayed and microchipped and everything. And there was something about her. There was just something about this cat. I'm looking at her, and something in my mind just went, that is your cat. Very hard to describe, but sometimes you just know. You just know. She was not even remotely what we were originally thinking. We wanted a Maine Coon cat, and we wanted a little kitten. And she was 1 year old, and she's a tiger cat, and it was just totally different from what we had envisioned, but there was something about her. And so I start like nudging Brandon, trying to wake him up, and I'm like, hey, like I think I really want this cat. And of course he's like really angry at me at this point. He's fallen asleep and been woken back up, and he was like, we're not getting a cat. I told you that we need to wait and get one in the spring. And so I'm just so sad, but I let him go back to sleep, and I went to sleep. And the next morning I woke up, and the very first thing that came to my mind is this cat. She just pops into my head. And at this point, Brandon's like really awake now, and so I was like, oh my gosh, I have to show you this cat. I found our cat. And he's like, Kaylee, I told you we're not getting a cat until the spring. I don't want to get a cat right now. And I was like, you just need to look at her. So I pull up her picture on the shelter's website, and I show him, and I'm like, look, she's 1 year old, she's young, you know, she's spayed, she wasn't too expensive, she was just so cute. I was in love with her. And I don't think he fully understood at first, like where this was coming from. I didn't fully understand. It was just something in me was like, you need to go and get this cat from the shelter. So I somehow convinced Brandon to call this shelter and see if this cat is still available, because as you know, sometimes they don't update their information on their websites as frequently, and for all we knew, she could be adopted. And so I was worried. It was a Sunday, and shelters have weird hours, so I wasn't even sure if these people were open for business that day or if this was even plausible. I call the shelter, I get voicemail immediately. So my heart just starts to like pound and I'm panicking, and I was like, oh no, like they're not open and we couldn't go on a weekday. They closed early. It was an hour away from us. It was just, everything was like crumbling in my head, and I was like, no, we're not gonna be able to get her. So finally I call back again and I leave them a message just saying who I am, who we're interested in, and where we live and all that stuff. I was like, please give me a call back. I'm going to be by my phone all day, you know, just super desperate on the phone. So we wait maybe an hour, and the shelter's hours that day were not very long. They were closing, I think, at like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. At this point, it's going on noon. So I was kind of like, okay, what if we just go up and see if she's there? So I convinced Brandon to get in the car and drive an hour to the shelter that we don't even know if they're actually open. They could have been closed that day. Maybe the hours were wrong. I don't know. We are driving up to this shelter and we're 20 minutes away, and I get a call from them. The lady on the phone was so nice, and she was just like, I got your message. You know, we are open today if you want to come up and see the animals. And she was like, who is it that you're interested in? And I said, Evie. And so she's like, okay, hang on a second. And I hear her like looking her up in the computer, and she can't find her in the computer system. So I start panicking. We've driven all the way up here. I'm thinking, well, maybe there's another cat we'd be interested in. Oh my gosh, like she's gone. We're not gonna get her. And it turns out the girl was spelling her name wrong in the system. So she finally finds her, and she's like, oh yeah, like we have her here, and was giving me more information about her. She starts to tell me her backstory and that she was a stray, and she tells me that a family had adopted her 2 weeks before with another cat, taken her home and brought her back to the shelter because they felt she was jealous and was acting out against the other cat. And I got so angry at this because generally when you get 2 animals, you put them together, it takes them a little while to get acquainted. And these people, they gave her like, I think like 3 days, she said. And so I just felt even worse for her because she had been adopted. She was probably very happy to finally be in a home with these people, and then they brought her back to the shelter. Sorry, just slightly ranty there, but I was just so upset to hear that story. And so the girl said, well, you know, if you guys want to come up and see her, she's here, and if all goes well, you can take her home today. And I just got so happy. So bear in mind this whole time, we did not have a set plan that we were going to take this cat home. We wanted to go up and see her. I wanted to go up and see her. Brandon was like complying with me. He was like, okay, fine, we can go. And so we get there, and when you walk in, there's a big glass area with all of the cat cages, and you can just kind of walk up and look at them. And we found her right away, and she was sleeping with her paw over her face, and she was so cute and little. I didn't know this at the time, but she was very underweight, and she had kennel cold. So she had lost so much weight, and she was stressed. She was shedding everywhere. So we walked up to the reception. I said, I'm the girl that I talked to you on the phone, and she said, oh yes, would you like a meeting with Evie? They were so welcoming, and that was one thing about this shelter that I love. They were just so happy to work with us, and Brandon and I both look very young for our age, and a lot of times we go places and we're not taken seriously. Like basically to do anything adult-wise, we're just never taken seriously, and so I was a little worried that they were going to be skeptical of us when we walked in, like what are these kids thinking, adopting an animal? But they were so nice, and they put us in a room with her, and she immediately started to climb all over Brandon and sniff him and rub her face on him. He was like, wow, she's so friendly. She didn't want toys, she didn't want snacks, she just wanted attention and love, and for us to pet her and love her. And so then we came back out after a few minutes, and the girl asked us, you know, how did it go? Do you like her? And we said, yes, we absolutely want to fill out an adoption application. We filled one out. There was no contest against anybody, it was just us. So she sat us down and talked to us basically just about cats in general, asking if we had cats. We said yes, we've had cats all of our lives. You know, giving us little mini scenarios, asking if she were to, you know, have an accident on the floor, how would you react? And just things like that. But otherwise it was super easy. You know, we just basically said, you know, she would be the only cat in the house. That was a stipulation because they didn't want to risk her being aggressive towards another animal. Although to this day, I have never seen her be aggressive towards any other animals, but that was just a thing. And so after that, they basically said, you guys are all set. If you would like to adopt her, you can come right up. We'll put her in a carrier and you can take her home. I was so excited. I was so happy. I was so excited. I'm like getting slightly emotional talking about it because she has been the best thing to happen to us ever. My childhood cat that I had for 15 years, she passed away this past summer, and having Evie in my life has just been so wonderful. And you know, she could never replace another pet that I've had in the past, but we couldn't ask for a better pet as our first ever pet together. I won't be super like secretive about it. I'll be super transparent with you. We paid $80 to adopt her, and that included the fact that she was spayed and microchipped, and we paid an additional $10 for the carrier, which is a cardboard thing with holes in it that we had her in for like 2 seconds. Then we took her out in the truck and she was able to just ride nicely in the truck. She didn't like throw a fit or anything. So it was $90 total to adopt her. And then we just got her a few little cat essentials, and now she's really spoiled and has tons of toys and tons of stuff to play with. But yeah, the overall adoption fee was not too expensive. If you're going for a younger cat, they are, you know, I think kittens are like $300 or something like that. But for her, since she was already a year old, she was just over a year old by 10 days, her adoption fee dropped to $80. So that was nice. It's definitely nice to have a cat that's younger, so we have her most of her life. I think that she's definitely, sorry, I keep looking at her because she's sitting right there. But I think she's definitely very grateful to have a home and to have people that really love her, and she loves attention. She gets along with everybody. This isn't a video to advocate for just adopting animals. I think all animals deserve a home. You know, if you have a puppy that's born by a breeder, they deserve a home just as much as an animal in a shelter. We are not like inclusive to one or the other. We do plan to eventually go through a breeder to get our German Shepherd, but we also are not opposed to adopting animals at a shelter. My mom just got her puppy at a shelter 3 or 4 months ago, and she's fantastic. For us, you know, it was adopting the cat. And so I'm not pro adopt versus pro buying, adopt, don't shop, you know, all that stuff. I don't want to start any arguments here. All animals deserve love and homes. Down the road, you know, maybe we will adopt a dog or adopt another cat, you never know. But yeah, so I just wanted to share this adoption story with you, and I'm very excited to say that she's been with us a year and she's the best thing ever, and we love her so much. Make a comment down below if you've adopted an animal in the past or if you're thinking about doing it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys all in my next video.